Hello and welcome back to this week's series of Realism Tips. And yes, I am saying tips. There was some confusion in the last week's episode. I promise I am saying tips. But this week we are just going to be going over sniffing in a game that doesn't initially have sniffing as a mechanic. So there's a few different ways that you can emulate sniffing, which we'll be showcasing here. And you can generally apply quite a few of these tips to any number of dinosaurs. But I just showcase a few different ways on a few specific models that were recommended, as there is some variety. So, first and foremost, you can use a stretch emote while walking to make it look like you're sniffing as a concavinator. You can even do this while crouching to emulate tracking something. This sort of behavior can also just generally be done when you're going to a new location or to a new food source. You can sniff the air. Standing on higher points or moving about while you're doing it can also just better help tracking abilities anyway. Think like a hunting dog may do. But you can use sniffing as a way to navigate the world around you. Your dinosaur doesn't always know where it's heading, so this can be used to investigate new places, new items, and new dinosaurs. For Megalania, the R call itself is just a tongue flick. A tongue flick is a pretty common motion you'll see in modern day reptiles, and this is used to scent the world around them. So you can emulate this with Megalania by pressing your R button at various intervals to make it look like you're sniffing or tracking something. I'm particularly fond of doing this around burrows, as you can try and emulate, scouting or tracking that prey item back to its burrow, sniffing around the burrow to see if something's actually in there before you go to the trouble of digging it out. And once you're done and you've hunted that item, you can always come back again to the burrow and investigate it one more time just to see if you miss anything left over in there. Of course, with the game's mechanics, there won't be, but it's still good to just investigate because your dinosaur never knows that there's going to be another good, easy meal there. You can also start to one-call as Lambio before cutting out that animation to mimic sniffing. This is something that I wasn't aware of, but was told to me by Snail, so thank you, Snail. The only real way I know how to cut off animations is by biting. So if there's a better or less obtrusive way to do that, I recommend doing that instead. But you can also still use to cut it off animation with the bite on a rare occasion to mimic sneezing. This could especially be done if your dinosaur is sick. So you can even emulate the same motion as an Anodontosaurus while walking. If you go to the slower Z walk and not the trot, it looks even more realistic. So you can look down, do the stretch emote while you walk, and by doing this, it looks like you can be foraging for food, trying to identify herd mates, or anything of that nature. Rocky Road also suggests you can even unexpectedly turn in a different direction to make it look like the main scent you were following was crossed over by a different smell, or veered off unexpectedly. This is particularly nice to do for Anodonto as they have bad eyesight, so they'd have to navigate in other ways. And that's going to be all for this week's series of Realism Tips. I hope you all enjoy. This is just a little way to bring another dimension to your roleplay, even if the game itself doesn't really offer you that ability. It's just a little bit more realistic to see your dinosaur using all 5 senses to track, to hunt, and to stay safe, as well as explore its surroundings. If you have any other tips for me, I recommend leaving that in the comments down below or in the Google Sheets in the Discord. I am running low on tips, so I highly recommend leaving a comment if you have anything that you've encountered in game, even if it seems small, because it has a higher chance of being featured. That is going to be all for this week, so thank you all so much for watching, have a great rest of your night, and stay safe till next time.